Hey guys, Dante here, and welcome back to my channel, The Burgos Art, and welcome back to another segment of the Toy Chest, where I show you customized toys of old and new that I like to work on. Now, if I sound weird to you, it's because I am fighting a cold, or what's left of it anyway, so my voice is all kind of rocky. So, let's jump into it. You see this cute little wind-up caterpillar? Isn't he adorable? In case you're wondering, he is from Z Windups. I actually bought two of these. While my friends and I were walking around the city, we dipped into a party city, and like any group of grown men started playing with wind-up toys. Anyway, I grabbed this because some time ago during an attempted live stream on YouTube, I drew a bunch of characters, or villainous characters, for my game of Clockwork Queen. These were all meant to be kind of virus-based designs. So you have like bacteria, which is actually a land mine, or sorry, an ocean mine hanging from a rope. You have this lantern with a spring for a neck and spikes for legs, obviously meant to be a virus. Then you have this kind of tapeworm looking thing, which in itself was of course inspired by these. So I figured, buy one of these, like super cheap, it was like $4, and do a little self-promotion and see if I could turn it into this. So to do that, our main thing is we're going to cut off the antenna, resculpt the face, add a nice spike to the back. He has three little spike legs, which actually work out perfectly because his character has one, two, three little areas where spikes touch the ground. I have to be really careful not to ruin what makes this character walk around. But in truth, what makes it walk around are these bigger nubs right here, bigger nub right there, and of course the wheels. These smaller nubs don't really do anything, so they shouldn't get in the way as long as they're not too tall. So yeah, I'm just going to do some sculpting. As always, if you want to skip this part and just see the final product, T.R.I.X, throw up a time cue, like right around here or something. Do it now, that way they know where to jump to see the final video. Alright, thank you, T.R.I.X. So, yeah, let's do a little sculpting and little, little grinding. Let's get these cute little antennas snapped off. Okay, with the antenna snapped off, I'm gonna go right into the sculpting of the face, which is the main thing of this. The spike is kind of a fishing hook spike in the back. I figured I'll sculpt around a piece of wire, drill a hole and poke the wire through. That way it has like an actual anchor inside the body. We'll do that afterwards. Right now I just want to get into the sculpting. Alright, so I'm very slowly trying to sculpt these top teeth. They need to stick out outwards. They need to go higher up on the head. There's a lot of weird light back here. There we go. You need to go stick up higher, kind of like a weird overshell. because I can't hollow the skull out. The main motor is right here. So I need to get as high up as I can on the top and then the bottom jaw, and then I'll paint the inside of this black. So the real trick is getting this kind of dome while also, they don't have to be symmetrical, but also getting these sharp teeth good to go. So I'm just slowly picking away at the individual pieces, and if I can't sculpt the bottom one now, since this is drying, I'll use what I have right here, and start sculpting the other pieces that will go with it. My only real fear is that if I put too much sculpt on the head, it might weigh down this little wind-up toy and won't be able to move, which kind of nullifies the entire project. We'll see how that goes though. So I took this ping pong ball just to get a nice curve. The only issue is whether or not I can then pry the ping pong ball out of beneath the clay once the clay dries out. We'll see how that goes, because this clay does stick pretty well. But the ping pong is nice and smooth, so maybe I'll be able to really wiggle it out. Worst case scenario, the whole thing comes off and I just glue it back on without the ping pong. But yeah, I'm just trying to really extend this, I guess, top jaw, because in the reference, the bottom jaw is meant to protrude out more. I think kind of like the mousers from Ninja Turtles, how like one jaw just really kind of cups over the other one. So I'm just right now trying to get a nice curve with this one. Once this dries, then I'll start working on the details of the underjaw. Okay, so first off, some of you might be able to tell that I sound better. That's because this portion of the video was recorded way after the past few minutes you've been watching. I took a bit of a hiatus from working on this because I just felt so broken after an incident. So right here is a nicely sanded down, sharpened, final version of the tail, the harpoon-like tail, right? So, as mentioned before, I sculpted over a piece of metal, in this case a nail, made a little hole, and I stuck it right through, right? Then I added glue to it. The problem was, the glue followed all the way down, I'm talking crazy glue, and literally welded all of these mechanics shut on this. Now, as you can see, it's kind of like a choo-choo train. The way it has this cross beam going from the front wheel to the back wheel, and that's what gives it its little, inching motion. And when I tried to pry it loose, the entire thing just snapped right off, and I was so disappointed. I was thinking I could probably rip these off and put them onto this face. By the way, if you can't tell, I'm going freehand with the camera for the moment. Anyway, I was thinking of taking these and putting it here and starting over. And I said, no, I'm going to fix this. So I took a really cheap, like choo-choo train kind of, well, speaking of choo-choo trains, a little steam choo-choo train wheel. I cut that sucker out, gutted out the inside of the bottom, and I just glued that frame right in. And I literally used a twist tie around what do you call it, the axle, whatever, the little cross beam from wheel to wheel. I twist tied it and hot glued it to the remaining piece here, and that allowed it to continue inching its way across. So the mechanics still work. And now that I'm back on track with that, I'm going to continue where I left off. So the face is pretty much sanded down. It could be a little smoother, but I don't mind the little dented details, because I might add a few of those kind of details along the body, because it's meant to be made of like hammered out steel. Is kind of meant to be unfinished, and it works very well. Look at that. The spots of the caterpillar gives a really creepy face, but yeah, that works fine. And now I went and I cut these little pieces of plastic, styrene plastic. This is like super thin material. I cut these little triangles, and I'm gonna carefully glue them to the underside of this guy and that guy right there. I say the underside, meaning here, because if I put on the top, the shell might bump into it, the actual like top half. So I'll glue it underneath each of these, and then add a little bit of sculpting, just a little bit, to give him his feet, which look like that. This will also help the feet look like they're coming from beneath him as opposed to being on top of him. Beneath the shell, that is. And from there, the last few details will be to sculpt some rivets all the way down the back. I'm debating on how to do this line. I could sculpt something to look like a line, or I could carve it into it, but I'm so afraid if I carve it, it's going to split the plastic. So we'll come across that when I reach it. Right now, glue these on, sculpt them, and I think the most trickiest part in terms of sculpting will be to sculpt an actual key shape over the wind-up handle here, which I was able to sculpt around. So I'm really happy I was able to get that curve in the jaw around here without getting stuck. So far things are going well. The only issue is you have to wind it really tight to get the motion, because I guess this head is kind of heavy, but you wind it tight and it still gets a good range of movement and motion. Not as much if it was just this lightweight by itself, but hey, it still works. So let's keep going, shall we? Okay, so what I've done here is create what is essentially going to be a metal seam going down the back of our little caterpillar. Now, of course, no matter how much I smooth this out, it's not going to be perfectly smooth with the plastic, and I can't really sand it down into the plastic even when it dries, because the plastic might not come out that smooth. So I'm going to take some more of this clay and do patches all around to make the entire body look kind of dented. And then the main thing is I'm going to also, I guess once this dries, I'm going to put little round rivets, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, going down the body. As you can see, I've already done the feet. I'm also going to glue this piece of plastic right over here. There we go. And then from there, it's right to the painting. So let's keep going. Now, luckily, the little wind-up handle here has natural little grooves and indents, like little texture on it. So when I slide this on, it actually slots right into the texture. I don't know if you can see it. I'm being very careful. I'm holding it downward. That way the crazy glue doesn't seep into the actual mechanism, because I don't want a repeat of what happened with the wheels. I'm gonna give that a minute or two to dry. And And yeah, you just put some scratching details, some dented details, just a number of different things. I might even add more texture, and then I'll start also adding more to really define that wind-up key. You know, it might look something like this, maybe more angular. Maybe I won't have the holes in it. I don't know. So far, a lot of the villains in these designs have really angular wind-up keys usually, and these more curved ones are used for the good guy designs. It's not set in stone, but it is something I've been doing, so we'll see where that goes. Okay, folks, so with all of the clay, epoxy clay dried, and with a little coat of primer spray paint, here is our sculpted, primed, and ready to paint gut crawler. I did the wind-up key as this kind of triangular piece. It was a necessity based on how I attached everything to the wind-up function. It's not completely coated perfectly, but it doesn't need to be perfect. Just a basic flat tone of gray would do just fine. I'm really happy with the rivets. It's pretty seamless on one side with the clay, which is perfect because you still have like the line going down it showing where the rivets connect everything. So for this, I'm using water-based paint, which is pretty much airbrush paint. So I got some brown and reds and some greens. Maybe I'll put some like rust kind of colors in there. Of course, the basics are going to be gray tones, so white and black. And I will use a little bit of silver on certain details. In fact, I might even use some yellow to give the rope this kind of like I'm trying to think of the right term, but like hand-woven texture. So I'm gonna skip recording for now because it's hard for me to paint fine details and get it on camera. That way it'll be a nice surprise when we fade into the finished product. In fact, let's start fading right now. Woo! All right, guys, here we are at the final stage of the project, and I present to you now the painted and completed gut crawler. I am extremely happy with the paint job on this guy. So I started off with the gray primer paint, and then from there just added on tones of grays and blacks and browns. You can see on this side especially the seam that goes down the body that was originally sculpted in has lots of deep browns. On the camera it comes off more black, but these are actually deeper browns that actually blend quite well with the gray tones. I went ahead and did spots of white, and then over that I put in some silver paint to give him that worn away look, like when metal gets scratched up. So he has like silver rivets, silver markings on his teeth, silver edging on his harpoon tail. You have a rope like material around the base of it. You got black little feet. He has all these like brown streaks, little dents and scratches. Got a scratch over here. Got a nice scratch over here too. And the key, silver key, nice and angled. And he just looks nice and a little creepy. That's the way he hangs over. Kind of like the Ninja Turtle mouses, which I'm really happy with on that. And yeah, that is him. Nasty looking, as he is. Now, as mentioned earlier, because of the weight of the sculpting material that's on him, the wind-up feature has a lot of problem moving. It still winds just fine. You know, wind it up all the way, nice and tight. But even then, doesn't go much. But if I put him on a slight angle, he'll run away just fine. So let's take something random, like, let's see, something random I could use. Something like this. put at the slight angle, and he has that little crawling maneuver, which I like. So as long as he's wound up, he'll still have the motion of moving around in the caterpillar-like animation, which is what I really wanted. But as he stands now, he is more of a statuette piece. He just kind of stays there. Let me unwind him a little bit. And there we go. And that's that, guys. A friend of mine suggested if we could find someone who could do a 3D scan of this, I could probably do little statuette figures. Once again, they won't move around like a wind-up toy, but it'll be really cool to have like a table full of these guys as little statuette pieces. Maybe I can hand paint them afterwards. It's an idea. But as it comes off now, I'm just very happy to have one of the many villain concepts from this game finally in a three-dimensional form. I hope to also sculpt one of the evil Vikings from this game. And once again, this is the game Clockwork Queen, and this is the gut crawler that she will fight most likely near the last stage if this game ever comes into fruition. And if you want to know more about the Clockwork Queen, or even see more of it, more of her, as always, check out my links on DeviantArt and on Instagram. And I also have a video of me coloring the Clockwork Queen, one of the most recent videos of me coloring her, as well as making a Funko Pop of her on this channel. I'll put some links up on the end of this video so you can click that as well. I like this guy. He's creepy, he's great, and he bends just enough where he could like hang off of something in an ugly looking fashion. And yeah, that's that. So thank you for joining me on this little journey, guys. As always, I am Dante. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the future. Later.